the 6 years since his passing. Can you reflect with us?
I asked David what he felt about it, and he said that it has not gotten any easier to deal with. After 6 years, the anniversary of Desmond's death is just as painful as it has been the whole time. And there's still some community support, but it has definitely become less over the years. The support that has shown up is greatly appreciated, and David remains resolute and unwavering in his determination to see justice for Desmond and to see broader reaching change.
Like you said, it's been 6 years. The Justice for Desmond Phillips team has accomplished a lot in his name and in his memory. When you reflect back, what stands out?
One of the biggest and most important impacts has been fostering social and cultural conversation about what happened to Desmond and about how he is just one example in the bigger picture of police violence, racism, and discrimination against people struggling with mental health. Before Desmond was killed, our community barely ever looked at or talked about these major issues. David Phillips has gotten people to pay more attention and question the city council, the district attorney, and the police about issues that should have been addressed long before Desmond. And we're still fighting to get real change.
It sounds like you're in it for the long haul. I'd be interested in the plans for the future.
I am in it for the long haul, and the Phillips family is in it for the long haul. We don't share everything we're working on publicly, but we're always working on something. And we want to continue to encourage others to speak up and to reach out to us. We want to build a network of people who have been harmed by Butte County law enforcement, and we particularly want to expose district attorney Mike Ramsey, who has enabled police violence unchecked for over 30 years. His legal protection at the county level, coupled with the doctrine of qualified immunity, has fostered a climate of zero consequences for police violence. Both Ramsey and qualified immunity have got to go.
In an emailed response, Butte County District Attorney Mike Ramsey wrote, in part, quote, "To bring criminal charges against either a civilian or an officer, it must be proven beyond a reasonable doubt that there is no reasonable claim of self-defense before there can be a conviction." He also added, quote, "I did charge and convict a Paradise officer for manslaughter on a fatal shooting before the Phillips incident, and have been asked to teach other prosecutors' offices how to pursue such charges when the facts do show an illegal action on the part of an officer." You can find a link to additional reporting on our website, mynspr.org. For NSPR News, I'm Ken DeBlanc.
Good evening, I'm Elisa Kowski with North City Public Radio. Coming up in about 15 minutes, local and state news at 6:04 and then again at 6:22. This is All Things Considered.
Actually, when I first got divorced, I asked my 21-year-old niece if she thought I should sign up for the grinder. And she explained to me that Tinder and Grindr are not the same thing.
Join us for the splendors and pain of love. Next time on the Moth Radio Hour from PRS.
Coming up later tonight at 8 on NSPR.
NPR journalist Ari Shapiro has written a memoir, The Best Strangers in the World. I'm Nancy Whitman. Join me this week for conversations with Ari Shapiro and Chico author Matthew DeStefano, whose latest book is about the wisdom of hobbits.
That's Nancy's Bookshelf coming up tomorrow morning at 10 on North State Public Radio. Support comes from the Chico Home and Garden Show, April 1st and 2nd at the Chico Fairgrounds, with 250 exhibitors in 4 buildings, acres of outdoor displays, and activities for the kids. Learn more at chicohomeshow.com. The time is 5:49.
A small monthly gift can make a big impact. When you donate monthly directly through your bank account, your gift goes even further because there are no credit card fees, no unexpected card changes, and fewer administrative costs. We call that an evergreen donation. Becoming an evergreen donor is simple and secure. Learn more about becoming an NSPR Evergreen Donor online at mynspr.org/donate. NPR.org/evergreen. Thank you.
From NPR News, this is All Things Considered. I'm Juana Santos.
And I'm Mary Louise Kelly. Remember this scene. Thelma and Louise staring over a cliff as the cops closing by.
I got the car. What are you talking about? Let's keep going. You sure? Yeah.
It is the ultimate tale of female friendship on a road trip. And the novelist Colleen Oakley uses it as inspiration for her own tale of female friendship on a road trip. Her new book is the mostly true story of Tanner. Colleen Oakley, welcome.
Thank you so much, Mary. I'm excited to be here.
I love that you took Thelma and Louise, which is also one of my favorites, and decided to run with it, or drive with it, I guess. As the case may be. What is it about that movie that made you want to dig in with fiction?
I like to think of Burney CA as the fiercest, greatest female duo on the big screen. They are so iconic. And I just remember watching that movie as a 14 or 15-year-old girl, and I just love how they captured kind of the zeitgeist of where we were as women at that time.
Let's go from there to your characters and how they fit into all this. Your Louise is 84 years old.
Yeah.
And at first she comes across as this harmless little old lady, which she is not. Introduce us to Louise.
Louise is an 84-year-old who has, I like to say, lived many different lives. As I think if you're lucky enough to get to that age, I hope that you get to live many different lives. And one of those lives perhaps put her on the wrong side of the wall. And all of that starts to catch up to her in her old age, and that's what sets off this tale.
Yeah, that word perhaps put her on the wrong side. The law is doing a lot of work there, because that's part of what we're trying to figure out as the book unfurls is quite what she must have done.
Exactly.
All right, and then your other main character, Tanner, at the other end of her life, 21 years old, and yet convinced her best days are behind her as well.
Exactly. So Tanner is 21. She thought that she was going to be this big professional soccer phenom. She went Northwestern on a soccer scholarship until she has a career-ending injury, and so she's really trying to figure out who she is and what her life is going to look like now, with a pretty big side of anger and a chip on her shoulder about it all.
Yeah, so they become, as this road trip moves them across the country, they become unlikely friends, very different personalities, 63-year age gap. Why did you want to explore that, a friendship that spans a few generations?
Yeah, the thing that really inspired this book was my own relationship with my grandmother, who was one of my very favorite people on earth. She was a lot like Louise. She was very pragmatic. She had her, 2 fingers of vodka every day at 4 p.m. She was bitingly sharp and funny and had kind of an amazing life in her own right. And our relationship really took off when I became an adult in my young 20s, and we really started to relate to each other and bond. And so I really wanted to pay homage to that a little bit, and also just explore what that intergenerational friendship looks like.
Your grandmother had Parkinson's, and your character Louise has Parkinson's as well. And I wanted to ask about how that played into your story. I wasn't aware that in addition to other symptoms, Parkinson's can cause a person to conflate real with make-believe. And in your fiction, you give that to Louise, so we're not quite sure what she actually may have done or not done, and we're not quite sure if she knows what she may have done or not done through her long life.
Exactly, and my grandmother dealt with that quite a bit, so it's not just the Parkinson's, but it's really the concoction of medication that doctors prescribe to combat the symptoms of Parkinson's. So in my grandmother's case, she started saying some really alarming things on our phone calls together. She said one time, asked me if I had sent a check for $10,000 to New Jersey, and I said, what for? And she said, to cover my gambling debts. And so some of the more outrageous things that she started to say, my novelist wheels started turning, and I thought, what if my grandmother had kind of this other secret life that none of us in the family knew about, and it was just starting to come out toward the end of her life. And that's what really inspired the idea for Tanner and Louise.
For the record, did your grandmother have thousands of dollars in gambling debts in New Jersey?
Not that we know of, but she's not here to defend herself, so we'll never know for sure.
I want to give listeners a heads up that my next question is about sex. We're going to talk about it frankly. You have a sex scene. It's one of the few I have read between lovers in their 80s. Mm-hmm. And the backdrop is Louise, who's picked up a guy in a bar on the road and invited him back to her motel room. She is widowed. Leonard, the man she's met, has also lost his wife. Would you read us a little bit from the scene?
When he finished unbuttoning her cardigan, Leonard carefully helped her out of it and draped it neatly on the bed that was nearest to them. Then he leaned in and gently kissed her in the soft spot where her jaw met her earlobe. She closed her eyes and concentrated on the sensation, the warmth that radiated through her. A flicker of anticipation flooded her stomach. She opened her eyes. "I have a bad hip," she said in Leonard's ear. "My right one, so take care." Leonard lifted his head and allowed a few inches of space between them. He grunted. "I have about everything." "Everything?" Louise cocked an eyebrow. He grinned that sweet, pen mischievous grin, and Louise's heart seized. She could see something of the boy Leonard used to be. A boy who had learned to rely on his wit and charm to woo a girl, rather than overt good looks. In other words, the very best friend, like her twin. She felt simultaneously warm and sad. "Well, not everything," he said. "Thank God," she said, and reached for the hem of her cotton blouse, slowly lifting it up and over her head.
Colleen, it's funny and it's sweet and they're so gentle with each other. How did you portray this scene?
You know, it was really, really important to me to have a sex scene between 80-year-olds, which might sound bizarre, but I think in our society and our culture, we tend to almost discard older people. You know, we don't think of them as old people, and I wanted to show older people as having full lives, which includes desire, which includes sex, which includes all of these wonderful things that people can experience.
Can we circle us back to where we began the road trip? Because it sounds like a lot of it was inspired by people you know and things that may or may not have happened in your life. Have you ever taken an epic all-female road trip?
I've taken quite a few. My mom actually goes with me on the road trips when I go on book tour. So we kind of have our own little film and reviews, although we do tend to stay on the right side of the law.
At least that's your story.
Exactly. You'll never get it out.
We've been speaking with Colleen about her new novel, The Mostly True Story. What's going on? Colleen,
Thank you so much.
You're listening to All Things Considered on NPR News. Support for NPR comes from this station and from Rice University, where challenging conventions, exploring new ideas, and making a positive impact is central to how they define unconventional wisdom. More at unconventional.rice.edu. And from Heathersburg Haga and Paul G. Haga, supporting African Wildlife Foundation, helping to ensure wildlife and wild lands thrive in modern Africa. Learn more at awf.org. And from Procter & Gamble, maker of Metamucil, fiber supplement containing psyllium, a plant-based fiber for trapping and removing waste in the digestive system, designed to be taken every day. More at metamucil.com. And from listeners like you who donate to this NPR station.
You're listening to NSPR, Your State Public Radio, KCHO Chico 91.7 FM, and KFBR Reading 88.9 FM. A service of CAP Radio and licensed to Chico State Enterprises. We're on the web at mynspr.org, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Listener-supported public radio connecting the communities of Northern California.
not just people just wanting money. It's not a handout. It's a debt being repaid for wrongdoing.
Efforts to pay reparations for slavery are gaining momentum in cities and states across the country.
California is the furthest along. It's Tuesday, March 28th, and this is All Things Considered.
I'm Adrian Florido.
And I'm Juana Summers. One big hurdle to a nationwide reparations program has always been a lack of support among the American public. We'll look at why.
A plurality of Americans, they don't believe the descendants of slaves deserve reparations.